One day, one day, I almost had a slip up about almost relapsed. It was that close, real close to messing things up. You know, um, I got my paycheck. My paycheck was a lot more money than I expected. It was a lot more money. It was like double what I was expecting. I was feeling good. Um, I was like, you know what? I mean, like, I know how this is working, so I'm just do a little bit. I want to get high, and so I'm at work. I'm at Red Lobster, and I'm doing a double. So, um, I got an hour break, so I go across the street to Well, first I all day I've been thinking about it, so I messaged my plug, and she hits me up. She's like, "Yeah, I got you. I got you. How much you need?" I'm like, gave her an amount, and gave her a number. So she, all right, I'll be there. I'll be there here in a minute. I gotta get a ride. So I'm going across the street to the gas station to get hit the ATM up, and anyways, get the money. I'm crossing back. I'm crossing the street. Having to wait traffic and whatnot. So I'm having to wait. Get across the street. I get across and I realize where's my fucking debit card? Fuck. So I left it in the ATM machine. So walk back. Had to wait for traffic. Get my ATM card. Wait for traffic. Go back. And then see, my phone was only a Wi-Fi phone. I didn't have service at the time. So whenever I finally got into Wi-Fi range, I'm just hearing Messenger, bling 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 bling, and I'm just reading messages. She's like, "Hey, I'm here. Where you at? Where you at? My ride's not gonna wait. Sorry, my ride. So I hit her back up. I'm like, "Hey, Hey, come turn around, come back." And she was like, "My ride doesn't want to turn back around now. I'm sorry. We'll try again. We'll try again tomorrow or something." You know. And to me, I believed that was, you can call it a guardian angel, you can call it God. To me, I call it the universe. It's all the same entity. Whatever it was, in my mind, to me, I felt like it had me forget it set all this up to where I forgot my ATM card, and traffic. I had to wait for the traffic to go, and like all that, and then even to the point to where the person didn't want to turn around for my plug. It just, I guess you can say God works in mysterious ways. But whoever or whatever it was looking out for me, because after that I realized, I'm like, that was close. What if you know I didn't forget my ATM card? I would probably end up getting kicked out of the sober house. I probably would have ended up, you know, back to square one, getting my probation revoked, going to jail, coming out a more negative person, not learning anything, just wasting other people's time on trying to help me. And I'm glad that happened. It was because I think about that a lot. I think about, like, what if it went the other way? It wouldn't have been good. I wouldn't be here right now talking to you guys. I wouldn't be in my own apartment. I wouldn't be having this conversation on this Galaxy S26 Ultra, you know? I wouldn't be having all these, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now, to say. And, for that, I'm very grateful that, you know, her rod said, no, I'm not turning around. I'm glad. If you're listening, I appreciate you not turning around for homegirl. I really do. So, anyways, um, so the Sober Living House, it's a great place. The Grace House is a great place. It was a big place. Going to church was good. Matt and his wife Janae preached. I always sit there and I always listen to these, to the stories, because it has a very positive message to them. And I try, to resonate to whatever whatever lessons he's speaking. And for me, I prefer going to church than going to an AA meeting, because to me, now I'll go. I went. Don't get me wrong. I'll go. But after a while, it's just like you hear the same stories. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Everyone's story's unique. Everyone hits rock bottom, but it's all the same plot, basically. Whatever's going on, the trauma, then the self-medication, or numbing the pain, going through rock bottom, your family disowns you, yada yada yada, all that stuff. And after a while, man, like, don't get me wrong, it's good to hear other people's stories, but like, eventually you have to grow out of it. For me, I had to grow out of it. I didn't want to be in that. But like going to church, so that's why I prefer. I'm glad I went to a church-based facility, sober house. And eventually, I started working for my pastor. He had a handyman business. I would, do stuff I've never done before, but I'll learn. Laying floor, doing sheetrock. I never did any of that stuff in the past. I always did power line or tower work, construction work. So I was a hard worker. I know how to work hard. I had a good work ethics. But anyways, I started working for him. I remember once I got sober, my sobriety red pilled me, and it made me realize, I'm like, there's more to life than wake up, go to work, come home, eat, sleep, wake up, go to work, come home, eat, sleep. There's more to life than just waking up and going to work, And Matt told me, I tell my pastor that, and Pastor Matt, he's like, man, that's just how the world keeps you in bondage. It's true. That's how the world keeps you, its boot on your neck, to where like it feels like you're in a trap you can't get out of. We're not meant to just work and just come home and watch TV. I just, no. But anyway, anyways, I ended up, continuing to work for Matt, and work at Red Lobster on the weekends for extra money. Just trying to save money, trying to, go through the program, going to groups, going to church, going to groups, going to church, going to work, all that stuff. I remember one day there's a convenience store just a couple blocks up from the house, and I go in there, and I seen this woman, very, very attractive. She's blonde, real short. She's probably like 5 foot. She was cute, and I was just so attracted to her. And for some reason, the energy, for some reason, just like I don't know what it was about the energy, but it was just I was just drawn to it. And I'm a shy guy. I'm very shy. I will. It's not that I'm afraid of rejection. It's just I'm just a shy person. Now, if you come up to me and talk to me, yeah, I'll socialize with you, and no doubt. But this is one of those rare moments where I started, noticing a change in me. I was like, I want to talk to her. I got to start doing things different. I want to talk to this woman. So, anyways, I go and talk to her. I'm just like observing her. I'm like, look, what can I talk about? What kind of noticed she had a tattoo of a phoenix on her arm. I was like, is that a phoenix? And I'm very familiar with phoenixes. Because, speaking in an astrological sense, I'm a Scorpio, and like our spirit animal is also referred to a phoenix, because we die, we rebirth, we transform. There have been so many times that I've started over in my life, it seemed like. And it wasn't that I'm starting over and I'm just like I'm growing into something different. Always transforming into something different, it seemed like, in a spiritual sense. So I was familiar, so I knew what a phoenix was. I asked her, she's like, yeah, it is. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And okay, there's the icebreaker. So anyway, start talking with her for a couple of weeks. I remember one day I kept going into the store. I had a day off and we weren't doing anything, so I'm keep going into the store and buying something just so I could talk to her. And I finally, after the third or fourth time, I'm like, I'm running low on money. I'm just trying to, I'm running out of excuses to come up here and to talk to you. You think I can get your number? She's like, yeah, sure. So got her number. We started talking a little. Our first date was, it was her birthday. I baked her a cake. That was one thing I was doing as a therapeutic thing, was baking cupcakes for church, baking. So I was pretty good at it because I like to do art. So the decorating the cake was kind of fun for me. So I baked her a cake. I made I had a canvas, and like I said, I do artwork. I did her name in graffiti, set Amanda on it, and it was really cool. I even made a little miniature one, same style and everything, said Amanda, and it had I bought a little tiny little easel for it to go on, and I got a teddy bear, and I put paint all over it, and I stuck a paintbrush in its paw. Oh my god, man! If Toy Story life was real, and that stuck that paintbrush in that teddy bear's hand, holy shit, man! I know. I'm just picturing the teddy bear, like, after I'm like leave the room, he's like, ah, ah, ah. But anyway, then I got like paint, the color paint from it, and I gave that to her, and I was like, how hard it was for me to teach a teddy bear how to paint. It did not want to listen, but I got it to finally paint. Anyway, she thought it was really sweet. We went to a Italian restaurant, and so, but anyways, we started dating, and the first date, she told me that, hey, I'm not from here. Luffy's not a permanent place. Um, Ended up, finding out, that she too was also um, went to rehab, and she's staying at a woman's sober house, just a couple of blocks away from where I'm at. I was like, well, wow, that's wild. That's pretty crazy. Because at first I was kind of nervous about mentioning me being in a sober house. I didn't know how she would react, but I didn't know what her situation was either. But when she told me that, I was like, "Are you for real?" So am I. Oh my god, yes. So so there's some, in a sense, speaking in a spiritual sense, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, all right, me and her are on similar paths. You know, we're both trying to better our lives, trying to get sober. She has her thing, I got my thing. But we're on a similar path. So I'm liking this. But she told me that she's gonna be here for a year, and she's gonna end up, leaving, going back to her hometown. And so I told her, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna give you the boyfriend experience. And and I did. We did. We went, dinner and movie. We would go. This one Christmas, they had ice skating here in town at the Civic Center or whatever. We went ice skating. I've never been ice skating, but I had a great time. Um, Me working out on the road, I never got to. I missed out on like opportunities to go out on dates and enjoy myself like this. Doing this sober, all of this is new to me, and just going out on dates and just it might be to her she probably been on a million dates, hundreds of dates, whatever. But for me this is new. I'm enjoying this. And so this was a you know very I'm making memories here. This is very memorable for me, and I was enjoying it. I was having a great time with it. She really meant a lot to me, and I started catching feelings for her. And I remember telling her when we were ice skating, since I was so nervous, but I told her, I was like, I love you. And I really meant it when I said it. And I felt something. And she now she told me she said it back. And well, she ended up ending it, like a month before she was supposed to be leaving, which I understand. It caught me off guard, but at the same time, I mean, like I said, I caught feelings. Couldn't help it. And whenever she said, she broke it off of me, it was hard at first. Um, whenever whenever you first get sober after being in a battle of addiction like I was, um, you're basically numb the whole fucking time. So when I got sober, all these emotions are just right fucking here, man. Right fucking in front of your face. And it in most cases people will end up, okay, that's triggering me off to go get high, numb to pain. For me, I'm like, I'm just gonna have to deal with it. Just deal with it. Just enjoy the time you got to spend, So I did. And but so during this time, um I came across the World Podcast. And I came across the Joe Rogan Experience. and that triggered me off for something.